knowing that men are almost the majority of all both historical and modern casualties of war, so deaths, injuries, etc.
If they're the ones fighting, can you call them a victim, or can you, I mean, if they were drafted against their will, then that's victimization. But if they chose to be there and they die in the battlefield or whatever, but they chose to be there, then they put themselves in that position. Whereas the women and children who didn't, like even the women who chose to go to war, like they are not a victim because they chose to do that. But the people, like even the men who didn't get drafted or the men who didn't go to war, the people, the normal civilization of that place I would say are the primary victims of war, because the soldiers, the people that are fighting, like, I mean, if they signed up to be there, they knew what they were getting themselves into. That's different from the people who got drafted. They can still be considered victims. However, you can think differently. That's just my opinion.
I would agree. So here's where I would agree. I would say that if you're volunteering to be a soldier, you are assuming some level of risk, right?
Yeah.
There's an assumption of risk. However, if you ultimately end up suffering and dying in said war, which you are voluntarily taking on said risk, I still think you're a victim. But that you'd also have to consider that oftentimes in war, there are men who are forced through conscription.
That's what I just said.
So
like those people are still victims.
But those people who are conscripted are exclusively men. So even if I were to grant that, okay, well, of the volunteer force, these people aren't victims, there are men who are drafted, women are not, then you would still have to say, well, at least of the men who are drafted, and it's just men almost always, those men are the primary victims of war.